Nearly 2 months ago, we reported on SpaceX's Starship 7 rocket explosion and the ensuing chaos over the Caribbean. The FAA temporarily grounded the fleet and had SpaceX do an internal investigation as to what went wrong, and changes were made to the design, and yesterday, Starship 8 was launched. And in this amazing video clip posted by Astronomy Live, he captured the explosion of Starship 8, which triggered a automatic DRA or debris response area by the FAA, clearing airliners out of the way. For more if you're an airline pilot and don't quite understand how this DRA system works in these sort of events, stay tuned, check it out. The FAA has posted an excellent briefing for its controllers here on DRAs, debris response areas, which I think would be good for airline training centers to implement into their quarterly training, as these sort of events are happening more and more frequently. And as we'll review the live ATC audio, there's still a lot of confusion out there when these DRAs are activated. And oddly enough, information about these DRAs have been omitted from X regarding the SpaceX program. So let's see how yesterday's DRA unfolded. Our first source of information is to go to Live ATC and back up the timeline, pick the correct zone that's controlling the area of concern, in this case San Juan, Puerto Rico, or TJUA, pick the correct date and time, and you can pick up on the ATC communications. Second, go to ADSB Exchange, click on the replay button here, set the date and time down here, and you can watch the mayhem unfold. Special thanks to Scott Manley for posting the maps of the TFRs, the AHAs, and the DRAs. We're going to go deep into these acronyms. The area shown in red and the TFR are all posted by NOTAM, and the DRAs, the debris response areas, are established once the rocket begins to fail, and then controllers establish or open up the DRAs and work to get the aircraft out of these areas as soon as possible and move air traffic to prevent them from crossing through the DRA while it is activated, while the debris is still falling. Looking closer at this map, we have the small TFR area from right around the launch area of Boca Chica itself. Outside of this small TFR area, the airspace becomes an AHA area, or an aircraft hazard area. And this MMFR, this is Mexican airspace right along here, right along the 8 is, so that references the AHA in Mexican airspace. And we can see this aircraft hazard area in red by NOTAM extends nearly all the way to Florida. Now, the TFR is a TFR, temporary flight restriction area. You can't go through it. That's pretty clear. An aircraft hazard area, an AHA, which is used for things like this: launch vehicle, re-entry vehicle, amateur rocket, jettison stages, falling debris. The AHA is designated by NOTAM. By the way, it's back to Notice to Airmen, not air missions, as either a TFR, temporary flight restriction, or an ALTRV. Well, what the heck's that? An altitude reservation. Unless otherwise specified, the AHA goes all the way from the surface to unlimited. And if we look up ALTRV, altitude reservation, airspace prescribed, normally employed for the mass movement of aircraft or other special user requirements which cannot otherwise be accomplished. All right, so what does that mean? Can we fly through there? Then finally, there's the DRAs, 4 different DRAs responding to different times after the launch, starting with DRA 1, 2, 3, and 4, each of these being activated after an event. So here's what it sounded like yesterday when they activated the debris response area number 4.
Due to a space vehicle mishap, a debris response area has been activated beginning south of Georgetown, Great Exuma, and extending to the southeast, impacting Providenciales and Grand Turk areas, extending further beyond and ending at the San Juan and Piarco Oceanic FIR boundary, just north of St. Martin's, and stand by for individual instruction.
And here's what it looked like on ADSB Exchange.
Due to a debris field that just has been activated from rocket launch mishap.
Roger, copied, expecting holding, lot 6139er. And please say again the reason of holding?
You can expect holding over position Bank. That's Tango Hotel Alpha November Kilo.
Can you say expected holding time?
Expected holding time, I would probably say for the next, 70 minutes, and that's due to a rocket launch mishap. So the debris is falling from the sky, and there's an area that's protected for the debris to fall, and you are just north of that area, so that's why I'm holding you.
But the police expect estimated holding time.
All right, stand by.
My question is about the fuel, sir, yeah?
So aircraft are asked to hold and or divert if they need to while they wait for the debris response area to go cold, which I assume is done once visual folks on the ground who are recording this can actually see the debris falling out of the sky, and they can tell once the debris has come all the way down to the ground, can they then call the area cold and then allow operations to continue. And poor old lot 6139, the Polish airline, he needs to know his EFC, his expect further clearance time. When can he expect to be released from holding? Because he can't stay up here forever. He's got to either divert or get a time certain that he can leave holding and proceed to his destination, which is apparently on the other side of this debris response area. Meanwhile, at the same time, flights were delayed. Flights that were going to be heading down south towards the DRA were delayed from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Orlando. So here's how a DRA works according to the FAA. The purpose of the DRA is to be used just in the case of contingencies like this. Now, DRAs, when activated, do represent an emergency situation with the national airspace system. So as we heard on some of those ATC audios, somebody was pressing to cut across the DRA while it was still active, and ATC said, no, you cannot go across there unless you declare an emergency. And then you take it all on at your own risk. Now, what if you are in the DRA area when it goes hot? Once the rocket explodes, ATC will try to expeditiously get you out of the DRA. And in most cases, it looks like if you just proceed on a perpendicular course to the DRA, you can get out of there pretty quickly. Meanwhile, all the other traffic that's about to enter the DRA has to stop and hold or divert or go somewhere else. And here's the rule that explains if you're at an airport that's underneath the DRA or are going to launch aircraft heading towards the DRA, you got to keep them on the ground until the area is cold. Then ATC, workload permitting, is asked to rebroadcast the status of the DRA every 15 minutes and then have a formal declaration when the area is closed and normal traffic can resume. Then they got to untangle all the mess of all these holding aircraft and get them going back towards their destination. Now, there's some pretty severe limits on DRAs. They can only be used in areas with adequate surveillance or radio coverage. In other words, radar or radio coverage. They're not going to be used in oceanic airspace, which includes the vast portions of the Earth's oceans shown here in gray. So once again, massive organized chaos using the DRA system with another SpaceX explosion. For those of you that are not familiar with the program here, see the links below to the FAA briefing. And again, I emphasize that airline training programs should include this in their quarterly training, as it apparently is happening all too frequently. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks that support this channel over on Patreon. See you here.